Sinner versus Alcaraz in a big final is the best thing that tennis has to offer. I am super excited about this match. I'm sure you guys are as well. Let me know in the comments below who you think is going to win that match and why. And I'm going with Sinner. I'm going to explain my reasons towards the end of the video, so stay tuned. But let's first start with the analysis of the two semifinals. And Alcaraz versus Musetti was a tough match. The conditions were super windy, and that affected the quality of the match. There were a lot of breaks of serve. Alcaraz started strong, was up 2 breaks, then lost his serve. He then breaks again, wins the set 6-3, but then loses his serve early in the second, and Musetti is up a break. Alcaraz comes back. We get into a tiebreak. It looks like Alcaraz is going to cruise through the tiebreak up 5-2, serving, but loses both points on his serve, and we're back on serve. And then Musetti loses both points on his serve. So very much an up and down match. But one thing that's super impressive about Alcaraz in this clay court season is his mental strength. Like I said in my video yesterday, I don't think Carlos is anywhere near his top level. He played well in some matches, especially in the early rounds in Barcelona and some of the matches in Monte Carlo and even here in Rome. But there were also a lot of up and down matches. But the good thing is that mentally, Carlos Alcaraz is sharp. He's playing the best clay court season of his life. 3 clay tournaments, 3 finals. Not quite the rampage that I predicted, but nevertheless, he's playing really well. Sinner versus Ruud in the quarters was one of the most impressive matches that I've ever seen over a top quality opponent, top 10 player. And I thought that we might see something very similar in the match against Tommy Paul, because if Sinner plays like that, there's not much that anyone can do. He's playing the ball so hard, long, so precise, so heavy. His defense is pretty much offense. He can hit winners from anywhere. He's returning well and he's serving well. But this is the thing that I love about tennis. Sinner, after beating Ruud 0-1, almost lost the set to Tommy Paul 6-0. In the post-match interview, Sinner said that it was actually very important that he got that one game in the first set, which helped him then turn the momentum in the second set. And for you guys that are unfamiliar with momentum shifts in matches, something that's very common across all levels, so not necessarily the professional level, even at the club level, is one player wins a set very easily. Player comes out playing really well, the other player is playing poorly, and then the score completely flips. So you get a score like 6-1, 1-6. And how is that possible? Well, from a mental standpoint, the player that was playing well in the first set might let the foot off the gas a little bit because there's a natural letdown after winning a set. On the other hand, the player that lost the first set very badly gets a fresh start and is highly motivated to play well very early in the second set. Now, I'm not saying this happened in today's match. We hardly see score lines like this on the ATP. Every now and then we do see them on the WTA Tour. But what's so interesting in professional tennis are the matchups between the players, because every player is going to play a tad different. And of course, the conditions, even on the same surface, might vary from day to day. So already discussed the fact that it was super windy and tricky to play early in the day when Alcaraz beat Musetti. But according to Sinner, this night session was a lot cooler and the ball was a lot slower compared to the previous night session where he destroyed Ruud. Now, the super interesting thing about conditions is that they don't affect players equally. So based on Sinner's statement, it makes sense why that set went 6-1 for Paul, because Sinner, interestingly, had a hard time getting the same depth on the ball that he normally gets. He was also spraying some balls here and there. But on the other hand, Tommy Paul was absolutely blasting the ball. So he was obviously not as affected by the slower conditions as Sinner. And my respect for Tommy Paul is through the roof. This guy can play on any surface. This is his second Masters 1000 semifinal on clay. He also won Queens on grass. He is one of the best athletes on tour, one of the fastest guys. And the way he plays from the baseline is so rhythmic is so athletic. He is super fun to watch. And he put Sinner under a tremendous amount of trouble. He was ripping the ball lower and longer with less RPMs. Now, I have a very interesting video coming out titled The Flat Ball Myth. And this video was accidentally released at the same day where I analyzed my match against Andre. I unlisted the video and wanted to release it on a later day. That's the first time I've ever done something like that on YouTube, and I'll never do it again, because when that Flat Ball Myth video came out, it was doing quite well. Then I unlisted it, released it again, and it was pretty much dead because that video had been released 5 days ago, but it already collected a ton of comments and I didn't want to delete the video and get rid of the comments. But I decided, however, based on some of the comments in that video, to actually redo the entire video and release a fresh version on another day. The old version is still available on Intuitive Tennis Premium. But the reason why I bring up the Flat Ball Myth video is that a flat trajectory doesn't necessarily mean that the ball is flat. It can still be extremely heavy. And even more importantly, the RPMs between strokes vary greatly. And when it comes to the Tommy Paul forehand, it's very heavy, but he also has the ability to straighten it out and hit it very hard and very flat. And his backhand generally is flatter. And I think in addition to the conditions surprising Sinner, he was caught off guard in that first set because Casper Ruud plays the exact opposite. He puts the ball higher with more spin, and Sinner was pouncing on pretty much every Casper Ruud shot in that match. But as I said before, the fact that Sinner got that one game when he was down 5-0 helped him a lot. He lost the first set 6-1, but played very solid early in that second and won the second set 6-0. And not only that, he continued to play well and went up 3-0 in the third set, where he again dipped a little bit and started making some uncharacteristic mistakes. But at 3-2, Sinner got the break again and went up 4-2. And at this particular 3-2 game, there was a shot from Sinner that makes absolutely no sense. So as I already told you, Tommy Paul was absolutely blasting the ball. He was throwing his whole body into the forehand and ripping it deep and hard. And he hit an inside-out forehand that landed this close to the baseline and this close to the sideline. Now, just think to yourself, if somebody hits a forehand very hard in that spot on the court, it's got to be a winner, right? And even if it's not a winner, the other player is going to play a defensive shot. Maybe they're going to slice it back. Maybe they're just going to pop it up high. But Sinner hit one of his trademark open stance two-handed backhands down the line off that Tommy Paul forehand. And I know that other players have that shot as well. Alcaraz, Djokovic, and possibly many others. The open stance two-handed backhand is something that players of this caliber must possess. But the way Sinner hits it, as I said in the beginning, is almost as he doesn't have a defensive game. His defense is very much offense. Now, Sinner went up 5-2. Tommy Paul held, made it 5-3. And those games were a little bit tricky for Sinner, but ultimately he won this match by playing the pressure points better. And this brings me to my prediction for the final. When you look at the strengths and weaknesses between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, it's very even off the ground. So I really can't put Alcaraz's forehand above Sinner's, and the same goes for the backhand. I'm going to put them even. In fact, if you look at the data from last year, these guys rank 1 and 2 in the world for forehand and backhand. If I had to pick someone regarding the feel game, which is very important for the clay, I would choose Alcaraz, but I will say that Jannik Sinner's drop shots and touch shots have improved tremendously. I've seen him practicing a ton of forehand drop shots, and he's utilizing that shot more and more. But still, I do think that Carlos Alcaraz possibly has the best forehand drop shot in the history of tennis, and his backhand drop shot is very good as well. Regarding the net game, I would give the slight edge to Alcaraz as well. But again, Sinner's net game is improving a lot. When it comes to the return game, maybe a slight edge to Sinner. But then again, you could say that both are unbelievable returners. If you saw the Musetti-Alcaraz match, Alcaraz was returning second serves from Musetti like a madman today. He was ripping the ball so hard, and Musetti barely won any points off his second serve. So both guys are incredible returners. Offense, defense, both guys do it possibly better than anybody else on the tour. When it comes to the serve, advantage Sinner for sure, even though Carlos Alcaraz has been working really hard on his serve. He still throws in the occasional double fault. He for sure double faulted way too much in the match against Musetti today. So the serve is clearly an advantage for Sinner. But when it comes to the clay court, this is where a great server can be neutralized more than any other surface. And the fact that Alcaraz's touch game is a tad better than Sinner's, the fact that his volley game is a tad better than Sinner's, you could still say, even though Sinner is the most dominant player on tour and the best player in the world, it's quite possible that Alcaraz is still the more versatile player. So you could make the argument that because of this versatility, when they face each other on clay, it's advantage Alcaraz. But I am still going to pick Sinner, and it's because of the intangibles. His results over the past 2 years have been far more consistent than the Alcaraz results. He struggled with some ups and downs where he lost to some players that he shouldn't have lost to. But there's more. Even though Carlos Alcaraz won the last 3 matches that were counted officially towards their head-to-head, so in 2024, Alcaraz beat Sinner in Indian Wells, where he played exceptionally well. He beat him in the semis of the French, and he beat him in the Beijing final. But after the Beijing final, they did play in the Six Kings Slam, a tournament that doesn't officially count towards anything, but there was a lot of money on the line, and these guys did play for real in that one. And Sinner lost the first set 7-6 and then won 3-3. So in my book, Sinner won the last time they played each other. But what I think will happen this year is that Sinner will not only overtake Alcaraz in the Grand Slam title count, he will also flip the head-to-head. And I'm basing this on the performances that were way more steady from Sinner compared to Alcaraz. Alcaraz will have to come out tomorrow and play his absolute top level, which he absolutely is able to do and has done many times in the past. So, of course, he can beat Sinner. But the likelihood of Sinner finding his top level is way higher, in my opinion, than Alcaraz doing so. Now, when it comes to the home court advantage, it can go both ways. You can get a boost from playing at home and a supportive crowd, but you can also feel more pressure and perform worse under that pressure. However, Jannik Sinner is the best pressure player on tour, and I don't think that the crowd is going to affect him in a negative way. It will only give him a boost. So for those reasons, even though there might be a slight advantage for Alcaraz on clay versus Sinner, I'm going with Sinner in straight sets.